Good afternoon, everybody, or depending on where you're located, good morning or good evening. I'm Lindsay Harrell. I'm the president of the Hilton Head Island Concours d'Elegance Motoring Festival, and I'm really excited about today's event. This is our final event of a series we've been working on pretty much all year long with our partners at Castrol and Michelin, the Driving Young America Boulevard virtual series powered by Castrol. And it's been a wild year for many reasons, as we all know, but we obviously pivoted. We are used to putting on a live physical event on Hilton Head Island and in Savannah every fall, and obviously plans change. We all know why. And we took this concept of the Driving Young America Boulevard that's normally a physical presence at our event and have taken it virtual. And today is sort of the conclusion of that series. If you've been with us at other events, we've had a lot of fun. We've done everything from get insider information on tires and motor oil with Castrol and Michelin, to tour one of the newest exhibits at the Lane Motor Museum in Nashville, Tennessee, to continuing our scholarship programs with the Volvo Club of America, with the Irv Gordon Million Miler Scholarship Award, and obviously our Michelin Junior Challenge Design Program, where we awarded our 4th consecutive scholarship this year, all done virtually. And I honestly can't think of a more exciting or better event to finish on than something that we've partnered on with Jaguar Formula E and Jaguar Racing. So we're really excited to have them involved. And if you're familiar with our event, you know that we've actually had a pretty good relationship with Jaguar over the years as it relates to our charitable fund, Driving Young America. Driving Young America was started as our charitable fund to inspire, educate, and get kids excited about everything automotive and everything in mobility. And I can't think of something that excites us more than fast cars and new technology. So this is a great fit to help get people revved up and inspired to go. And Jaguar has been a great partner with ours over the years with Driving Young America. Vera Park, their lead exterior designer, has judged with us the last couple of years in our Michelin Junior Challenge Design Program. And we've partnered with them on our Design Among the Stars event, which is an event on our normal calendar in a normal year where we feature designers that sketch live, and they donate their time and they donate their sketches. And those sketches are auctioned off to benefit Driving Young America. And we've been so fortunate to have, again, Vera Park there one year and Ian Callum there in previous years. So it was really a natural fit to bring Jaguar into the Driving Young America virtual series with Castrol this year. And the connectivity between Castrol and Jaguar with the Formula E series as well just was another great reason to get this pulled together. So this event has really been an international effort to make this happen. And the video that we'll be sharing with you shortly is a premiere. No one has seen it yet, so we're very excited to be the first ones to share this with you. And then we've got time with James Barkley, the team director, afterwards, that he'll take your questions. So stand by after the video finishes to ask some questions of James. We've got time with him today, which is really special to have that. Before we share the video, I did want to just make a mention of who else is with us today. I've mentioned James is here. James, welcome to your first Driving Young America Boulevard event. We're certainly glad to have you. And I also wanted to introduce Tracy Drellick-Nauer, our partner at Castrol, who's here today, and you'll be seeing her later as well when we get into the question segment. But we couldn't do this without both of our partners at both Jaguar and Castrol, and are really excited. So without further ado, I'd like to share with you the premiere of an inside look at Jaguar Formula E racing.
That's the driver. Hello and a very warm welcome. I'm so glad so many of you can join us today as we prepare to embark on season 7 of the ABB FIA Formula E Championship. Now today we're going to give you a behind the scenes view into Jaguar Racing. We're going to give you a little guide about our new car and we're going to talk to our formidable driver lineup, Mitch Evans and Sam Bird. Now for those of you who don't know about Formula E, it is probably the most competitive form of motorsport, showcasing electric racing in some of the world's most iconic cities. It kicked off in Beijing in 2014, and since then, the series has gone from strength to strength. This year, gaining World Championship status from the motorsport's governing body, the FIA. And as we prepare to embark on probably the most exciting season, I'm going to start by welcoming our team director, James Barkley. James, it's wonderful to see you today.
Great to be with you.
Now just tell me, as we're about to embark on this momentous season, what was it that first attracted Jaguar to Formula E?
Well, for us, Amanda, Jaguar has obviously a long, illustrious history in racing, but we've always raced with purpose. And for us, it's about proving new technologies to bring them to our consumers. And so for us, Formula E was the perfect time and the perfect place. It's a real-world testbed for electric vehicle technology. And our vision for the future as a company is very much focused towards the drive for electric mobility. So for us, a perfect way to not only prove our technologies, help develop and advance them, but ultimately bring those benefits to our customers as well. And not only from a mobility point of view, but importantly from a sustainability point of view. We have a broader corporate vision for the future, which is called Destination Zero, and that's about a more sustainable future with zero emissions, zero accidents, and zero congestion. So it's perfectly aligned with our vision for the future as well.
Now we're about to start on a new season. We have just come out of what's called the off-season, but it's been a very different kind of off-season this year.
It has been. We've obviously all been heavily affected by the COVID-19 pandemic. And as a race team, that's not only affected our race season that finished in season 6, but also our development for the new season. But I'm still, even despite those challenges, really proud as a team that we have worked very hard during that period to deliver the brand new Jaguar I-TYPE 5, our new challenger for season 7, all new powertrain developed in-house at Jaguar Racing with over 1,000 new components, focused really on improving our performance by reducing weight, reducing centre of gravity, basically bringing the weight lower in the car and improving our efficiency to produce what we believe will be our most competitive race car to date.
So James, as we stand here looking at the new car, can you just outline what some of the changes are?
The way the rules and the regulations work in Formula E, they allow us to develop the electric motor, the inverter, the rear end of the car, the rear casing, which includes things like the gearbox, but then importantly all the software and the control system. So actually there's a lot of work that we can do in that space. We are fundamentally looking to improve efficiency, and the faster you can run for the longer you can is ultimately what delivers performance in Formula E. So efficiency being number one, reducing the weight, because reducing the weight in a racing car ultimately makes you not only faster but more efficient, and reducing the centre of gravity. That's the height of the weight in the car, getting that as low as you can to help with things like direction change. We race in these incredible cities all around the world on very tight, twisty circuits, so that ability to change direction quickly is a key performance benefit. So that's been our real area of focus and a huge amount of work to get that powertrain developed in time for the start of the season.
Now that's what's going on underneath the bodywork. The bodywork shape is the same as last year, but it does look very different.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, we've got some great new partners joining us this year that obviously you can see on the car. Firstly, Castrol working with us with their e-fluids range, really focusing on improving efficiency, reducing basically any rolling friction, whether it be lubricants in the car, fluids we use across the car. Really important technology for us. You know, marginal gains, every time you can find a small improvement ultimately helps you deliver results on track. So a really important partnership with Castrol, who we're really proud to have a long and illustrious history with.
So having learnt a little bit more about the car, let's introduce you to our strongest ever driver lineup. Joining us again, we have Mitch Evans, and he's going to be joined by our new signing, Sam Bird. But Mitch, first of all to you, welcome back. You must be excited to be starting on this new season.
Totally, yeah, my 5th season with the team, which is really exciting. We had a strong year last year, and obviously we're hoping to improve on things with the new car. Obviously with Sam coming on board to help elevate the team to the next level. So yeah, really exciting times for the team, but also just get excited for a new season of Formula E.
Through the final corner as he takes victory in the first Rome E-Prix.
Victory in New York City for Sam Bird.
And Sam, welcome to Jaguar Racing. It's brilliant that you are now part of the family, but you've been with Formula E since the very beginning. So are you excited now about driving for Jaguar?
Really, really excited, Amanda. You know, this is a move that's been in the pipe work for some time. I think it's absolutely the right time to be joining Jaguar. I've watched the team grow from strength to strength over the last 3-4 seasons, and yeah, can't wait to get my teeth stuck into this project.
Now, you've been doing some testing so far. How has it been going, and are you looking forward to the first race in Santiago?
Testing so far has been really encouraging, actually. I'm very happy with what I've seen so far, not only from the car, but from the team itself. All the engineers and mechanics have been working extremely hard to ensure that the car is not only quick, but also extremely reliable and efficient. We head to pre-season testing in Valencia with high hopes, and then obviously Santiago, fingers crossed, we can deliver a lot of points.
Must be very different getting into a new car with a new team. But Mitch, you've been testing this car already. You have a benchmark from the car last year. How would you sum this car up?
I mean, so far it's hitting our targets and what we expected of it. Obviously, we don't really know what our competitors are up to, and that's the biggest, let's say, test that we're going to be experiencing in Valencia and obviously in Santiago. But it's definitely a step forward. The amount of work that's gone into this powertrain is huge. So obviously we had a strong platform last year and a strong powertrain, but obviously we want to elevate that to the next level. So we've definitely done that with this, and hopefully it's enough once we come to the season starting in Santiago, and hopefully we're fighting at the front.
Now, we had a strong start to the season last year. What are your aims for this season?
Obviously to have continue that sort of form that we had at the start of the season. For the whole season, and just start off strongly, and obviously be fighting for the front of the championship and both drivers and teams championship, come the end of the season. So we missed out last year, which really hurts, and it's given us a lot of, obviously drive and motivation to try and obviously achieve that this year.
Sam, you've won races in every Formula E season. What's your target for the season 7?
I've come here with the clear intention that I want to try and challenge for the title. I feel like Jaguar can do that. I feel like we've got the car and the personnel in order to achieve that. So me and Mitch are going to be working extremely hard together to ensure that we elevate Jaguar right up the front of the pecking order. And my own personal goals, again, to win more races, more podiums, and let's see what I can do in the championship.
Well, brilliant. Thank you very much, guys, and the very best of luck. Well, I hope you've enjoyed hearing a little bit more about the team and the drivers. We look forward to seeing you soon. Thank you for joining us. Bye-bye.
Well, if that doesn't give you some chills and get you pumped up for the season to come, I don't know what will. That was very well done, and it left me very excited for what's to come with the upcoming season. But I want to take this time to turn it over to my partner at Castrol, Tracy Drellick-Nauer, who's going to put James in the hot seat a little bit and ask him some questions. So again, keep the questions coming. We'll get to as many of them as we can before we have to wrap up here. But again, thanks again, James, for being here and doing this with us. We really appreciate it.
Thanks, Lindsay. And James, yes, again, thanks for being here. I think we have some amazing questions for you. Let me start off with asking you to educate those of us on what's the biggest difference between a Formula One and a Formula E car?
Well, firstly, good morning to you guys in the US, and great to be with you today. As you can't quite tell, but it's dark and raining here in the UK. So nice to be speaking to you all over there in the US this morning. So yeah, really good first question. And the obvious, if you like, differentiate the heart of it is the powertrain. It's fundamentally the all electric powertrain. So when Formula E was created, believe it or not, only 6 years ago, it was the first ever all-electric racing championship. And at the heart of it, obviously, is the difference in the powertrain. An all-electric powertrain, purely powered by battery. And if I look at just from a technology point of view, because we can come on to a bit more detail about it, I'm sure some of the questions, fundamentally, the heart of it is that as a platform to promote the benefits of electric vehicles. That's why it was created, and at the heart of it, an all-electric racing car. But the other thing which differentiates Formula E to contemporary racing, Formula One racing, would be a good example. For example, city centre racing. You know, we quite unique to the DNA of Formula E is that we race in city centres around the world. So we don't race on traditional race circuits. We have one or two in the calendar which have adapted, if you like, circuits to suit Formula E. But the majority of our circuits are in the city centres. So a great example is our first ever motor race back with Jaguar was in the heart of Hong Kong. You know, never before had there ever been a motor race in the centre of Hong Kong, and we were there returning to the sport in such an iconic backdrop. So cities like Hong Kong, New York, Paris, Rome, Berlin, to name a few, are quite incredible backdrops racing. So we believe Formula E is the most accessible form of the sport by racing at the heart of where the audiences, in many cases, who haven't necessarily had the opportunity to even see motor racing before. So I think that's another key differentiator.
Great. Actually, that was one of the questions, a follow-up question I'll probably bring to the front now was, what do the drivers prefer? Do they prefer being in city center, or do they prefer being on a traditional track?
So it's a really good question. Fundamentally, racing drivers, once their helmets are on, the number one job, right, is to beat everyone around you. And I think the circuits are incredibly rewarding. I would say, of course, you know, a high downforce car like a Formula One car is incredibly rewarding from a driver's point of view. But likewise in Formula E, where every circuit is a street circuit, where there's no margin for error. And in some cases where you have 24 cars separated by less than 0.3 of a second, winning and success in Formula E is incredibly rewarding. So I think it really depends on different factors, but at the heart of it, the purity of the racing is what the drivers really enjoy, and it's why you see such a phenomenal driver lineup in Formula E with 24 fully professional racing drivers.
Excellent. Let's move over to technology, because you mentioned that before. So how are you, and what technologies is Jaguar taking from the Formula E car, and how are they incorporating them into their production cars? And how is the Formula E car a test vehicle for the future production cars?
Yeah, I think a really good question. At the heart of it, we can learn so much around electric vehicle technology from Formula E. It is a real world testbed for electrification technology. You heard me say that in the film, and it's absolutely true. You know, we are evolving and developing electric vehicle powertrains, and that's everything from the electric motor, the inverter, and importantly, the vehicle control unit, the brains of the operation, right, which is controlling all of that to optimize performance. That is carryover technology to production cars. Whilst the hardware might not be the same, at the heart of it, the principles are the same. We can learn a lot about materials technology. We can learn a huge amount around the software side of things in terms of how we control the powertrain to optimize performance, efficiency, but also to try and deliver the best possible results. So we can learn, and there's some great examples. In our time being involved in Formula E, we've been able to learn through the software development to deliver a free over-the-air download to our Jaguar I-TYPE customers, which has increased the range of their Jaguar I-TYPEs by 20 kilometers on a full charge. Now that's come through our learning in electric racing and in Formula E, and that's really been a great example. We have some other good examples as well. We have a good example would be the digital vision technology we use in the car to recognize street signage, for example, to inform the driver of a speed limit area coming ahead. We've been able to use that same technology, vice versa, to actually enable us to read the race situation and to guide us on race strategy, to tell us about how quick we should push, how fast our drivers drive, and when to conserve energy. So it's a two-way street. We're not only learning from the race activity, but we can bring this wealth of technology and knowledge. We have 8,500 engineers down the road at Gaydon in Warwickshire who are developing this electric vehicle technology. And we can really go into that kind of group of engineers, give them a challenge, and actually then deliver that into the racing team to improve on-track performance as well. So it's a really great two-way street, and we are really seeing the benefits. What's also really important to us as Jaguar Land Rover is we have a vision for the future called Destination Zero, and that's about zero accidents, zero congestion, and zero emissions, most importantly. And this program is also a way about us not only showcasing the benefits of electric vehicles, but also the sustainability benefits of it, particularly in the city centres around the world. So it really fulfills many facets for us, and it's something we're genuinely passionate about, as you can see.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. I think I would definitely be remiss from not asking about the lubricants and the EV fluids that are in the vehicle, especially from being Castrol, and I believe there's some Castrol folks listening in live today as well. So I think, can we first start off with talking about the importance of those EV fluids and how they differ from a traditional lubricant, for example? We know Fabian asked this question, with ICE lubricants, we know the higher performing the engine is, the more enduring a lubricant can be. Is that the same for fluids in Formula E cars? So if you could speak to the lubricants, especially those, the E fluids, and how it differs between a traditional fluid and an E fluid, and how important it is for the vehicle.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the first thing, which is wonderful, is Jaguar and Castrol have a relationship that goes back a long way. So you'll remember iconic Jaguar race cars of the past with Castrol racing liveries, particularly in the US, actually. And it's really great that we have that partnership ongoing today. And it's because of the importance of the technology that Castrol brings to us as a racing team that we have such an enduring relationship. So a great example to your question, absolutely, e-fluids, as we look forward to electric vehicles, play as important a role as they do in ICE engine cars, in internal combustion engine cars, particularly in the case of efficiency, where we're looking to drive and improve efficiency. If I just use a small example, where you have churning losses in a gearbox, we have lubricants in the gearbox, transmission fluids. So e-transmission fluids are a really important area. We're ultimately trying to make sure we are making the transmission as efficient as possible, reducing the friction in the transmission, but also reducing the weight in the transmission. So working with Castrol engineers to find the optimum balance of all those elements, that's a really key area in electric racing in particular, and in EVs in terms of consumer benefit. What you don't want to be doing is carrying around excess weight. What you don't want to be is creating heat, and all these areas play a really critical role in optimizing performance. In Formula E, sometimes at the end of the race, you'll find 1 to 2% difference in the state of charge, what we call SOC. You'll hear us refer to SOC on the radio to the drivers, state of charge. When you have only 1 or 2% difference towards the last 4 or 5 laps of a race, if you can achieve a 1 or 2% advantage over your competition, that is literally the difference between winning or losing. So when we look at the overall losses in the car, whether it be transmission fluids, whether it be e-greases, all these areas that we working with Castrol engineers are enabling us to try and find these marginal gains, which ultimately over race distance could literally be the difference between winning or losing. So it's a really important part. But what we love about it as well is it's all really relevant, transferable learning that we can bring into production cars. And these are products which Castrol is going to be bringing to consumers in the future. And that's what's really exciting about it. It is a real world test bed, as I said.
Yeah, it's a great partnership. And thank you. And I was going to say, talking about another partner that's also part of the Driving Young American Boulevard partnership is Michelin, who's on your car. And the question came through about your one tire solution, and how much does it simplify the car setup to have a one tire solution?
Yeah, it's a really good question, and it's actually one of the real, I think, strengths of Formula E. Originally, in most traditional racing, as we know, you have a slick, dry condition tire, optimizing grip. You have an intermediate tire when it's a light drizzle, small amount of rain, and a full wet, or what you call a monsoon tire for rainy conditions. Working with Michelin and Formula E, they came up with one tire option. Fundamentally, the reason there is reducing our footprint as we travel around the world racing. We could fill another jumbo jet full of tires if we looked at that traditional model I just explained. So the philosophy here is one tyre which works in all conditions, reduces the footprint, but importantly gives you a real challenge as a team and as a driver. So it's a tyre which does allow the car to move around a lot. It does heat up quickly or slowly, depending on the circuits we're at. So we have to really try and find and optimize that performance. In Formula E, we have one single lap for qualifying. The drivers have to go out and deliver their best lap of the weekend on one lap. They don't get another shot. So you have to know exactly how you can get the utmost out of the tyre. And what's also great about it is not only those sustainability benefits I talked about on the sporting side, is fundamentally at the heart of it, it's a really tyre designed for electric vehicles with low rolling resistance to improve efficiency as well. So I think it's a great message on a number of levels. One, just that simple sustainability message. We can in a world championship race with one tyre, but importantly, it provides great racing at the heart of it. And from a setup point of view, in some ways, it's quite straightforward because we don't have 3 or 4 compounds of slick tires. Again, if you look at other categories like Formula One, you have a number of slick tire compounds. You have to go through your test program to work out which is going to be the optimal tire to use. In Formula E, we have one tire. And what it does create is really close racing. And we talk about 0.3 of a second. We were in Valencia last week, pretty much 0.3 of a second separating 22 of the 24 cars on the grid, which just shows you how competitive the tire makes it as well.
That's great. That's super. I want to go to one other part of the car because some questions came in around that, is around the battery. Who makes the battery, and is it the same battery in the Formula E car as we would find in the Jaguar street cars?
Yeah, really good question. So it isn't. Obviously, different batteries for different purposes. So we use a 54 kilowatt hour battery, which is produced by McLaren. McLaren, as you'll know from Formula One fame, they have basically an advanced engineering division that produced the battery. They manage the battery program for Formula E. So that is the same battery for everybody. That lasts us a 45-minute race. Now, our Jaguar I-TYPE production car is a 90 kilowatt hour battery. So obviously, nearly double the capacity, but obviously, we're producing a battery in Formula E to last us that 45-minute race. Whereas obviously with our production car, road car for our consumers, a battery obviously that has significantly higher range, but so different purposes. But yeah, really the same kind of, if you like, ultimate technology at the heart of it, exactly the same, just slightly packaged differently for different purpose.
Yeah, no, great. And actually going into the 45 minutes, there was a question regarding that about the current 45-minute format. Would you like it to go longer? Or do you think 45 minutes is the right amount? Or do you think we'll ever get beyond 45 minutes, 5 years from now?
Yeah, I mean, to give you an example, in what we call Generation 1 of Formula E, that basically was Season 1 to the end of Season 4, what we call Generation 1, we had 2 cars for a race, and halfway through, our drivers would come into the garage, they'd jump out of one car into the next, and that was because at that point in time, the battery technology wasn't quite there to deliver a full 45-50-minute race. In Generation 2, which is what we call Season 5, and bear in mind, we're about to start what we call Season 7 now. So 2 years ago, we introduced the Generation 2 car. And at that point, the technology had evolved enough to last a full race, 45-minute race, but going faster. We're more powerful now. So it just shows you how quickly the battery technology is evolving. And that's what's really exciting about Formula E. We're showcasing how the technology is evolving, but also at the same time going faster. And that's really important. But would I prefer a race that lasted longer than 45 minutes? I mean, my view on it is, as a modern consumer audience, what we have noticed is people don't necessarily want to sit down and watch 2 hours of racing. They like the format of a 45-minute race. It's a 1-hour show, basically. You can come, you can watch it. The racing is incredibly exciting. So it's always that balance between what we can do with technology, and we absolutely will be able to go further and for longer in the future, versus actually what audiences want to see. And what we are seeing is the short format, exciting racing seems to be really attracting attention.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you spend an hour of your day, get it all done, right? Instead of sitting through something that takes a whole day. I mean, no one really has the time anymore, but no, that's great. The next place I want to go is still talk about the race, but your competition. So Audi and BMW both announced that they're leaving Formula E. What is your stance on participating in the series long term? And do you see this as an opportunity, your competition getting out, you guys being in? If you can speak to that, that would be great.
Yeah, well, firstly, obviously, we have this season to contend with, and we have an
Mhm.
incredible lineup, as you say. 9 car manufacturers, 9 OEMs, 10 manufacturers, teams that produce their own powertrain out of 12 teams. It's going to be an incredibly competitive year, probably the most competitive we've ever seen in Formula E, and that's exciting. This year is going to be whoever comes out on top can be really proud of what they've achieved with the most competitive car manufacturers that they've been racing against. So yeah, obviously there has been quite big news recently, obviously, that BMW and Audi will be leaving Formula E for their own reasons. From our point of view, and you will have seen a similar position from Mercedes and Porsche, who have really kind of committed to the future. Our point of view, we're committed to our program here in Formula E. We feel it's a really important platform to not only tell the world about the benefits of electric vehicles, but also to use it as a test bed for the technology, as I mentioned. So for us, absolutely kind of focused on where we're heading as a company and as Jaguar in the future. And we just see this championship continue to grow. It's only normal in racing that people come and go. That's the history of motor racing. People will have other priorities at different times, depending on where their business and brands are at that point in time. So from our point of view, a very exciting future. Fantastic to have the brands, the likes of Porsche and Mercedes, continuing in the future, as well as Mahindra, who announced their extension to the program, and obviously the likes of Nissan and many others. So a really exciting time for the future, still, regardless. And this will be a circular point. People will come and no doubt come back in the future. And but yeah, we're really excited. We were the first premium OEM to join Formula E, and as I said, really kind of looking forward to it, especially this new season ahead.
Yeah. And you speak about the future. So what do you think Formula E will look like in 5 years? Do you think we'll go from a 45-minute race to an hour race? Like you said, circular, different OEMs coming in out. What do you see in your crystal ball 5 years from now?
Yeah, honestly, really exciting. So Generation 3 of Formula E, I talked about Generation 1, Generation 2. Generation 3 of Formula E starts in what we call Season 9. So again, we're just about to start Season 7 now. So in 2 seasons' time, we go into Generation 3. Now, the FIA are currently in their process to complete, they've completed the tender process, they call it. They've appointed the suppliers that are going to be providing the different components. So the same company, Spark Racing Technologies, will provide the chassis. The battery will now be provided by Williams Advanced Engineering. So in providing the battery for all teams is a common item. Those are the kind of 2 main tender components, and the tire goes from Michelin to Hankook. So very interesting in terms of the kind of the core items which all teams will use. But what we know about behind the scenes of all of that is that the cars will be faster. We go up to 350 kilowatt. We're running at 250 maximum power right now. We go up to 350 kilowatts. The cars will significantly come down in weight from 900 kilograms to 790 kilograms, so a lot lighter. So when you put all those elements in, we'll be more powerful, significantly lighter, and therefore significantly faster. And that's going to be really exciting. We'll continue the DNA of racing in city centres as well, which is exciting. And I do think we just see a really, really positive and exciting future, particularly as this technology becomes even more relevant to consumers as well. So yeah, we're very excited by that. And these cars, the speed at which they'll be racing is quite phenomenal to see the acceleration of the technology. And that's just that's in what we would call the near future, the short-term future. So let alone looking in the next 10 years from now, which is really exciting.
Great. So let's talk a little bit about fans. I've never had the opportunity to go to a Formula E race. Unfortunately, I'm supposed to go to the one in New York this year, but didn't get a chance to. A question about the fact that there's no noise, quote unquote, coming out of the engine. How is that an impact to the people watching? What are they hearing? What are they feeling? You said the enthusiasm is still there. Can you share a little bit about that, about how quiet it is and how that impacts the experience?
Yeah, I think when, like us as a team, we live and breathe around it all the time, we actually honestly do not notice the difference anymore. I grew up in traditional racing, used to hearing very loud race cars, and for us, almost we don't notice the difference now, which is amazing. What we have noticed in our acclimatization as a team, though, is that Firstly, it's a lot nicer environment. You can talk to each other. We see a lot more families coming to races as a result of not being worried about, the noise pollution, if you like, that exists at some of the races. So while I appreciate it's very exciting for many people, it's actually brought a new audience who traditionally that would have turned off. The other side is it's enabled us to race in locations which we never would have been able to race in. We race in the heart of Paris, right next to the Eiffel Tower, right next to where people live. You couldn't do that with an incredibly loud combustion engine car. So the way we look at it is actually it's opened more doors than it's closed, and that is very exciting. And I'm very passionate about protecting the sport I love very much, and motorsport has always evolved, and this is simply the next evolution of the sport, which has always been at the forefront of evolving technology. So from a fan experience point of view, the cars are not silent by any means. I mean, one of the myths I think is that the cars are completely silent. They're not, and you can hear the difference solutions that people have. Some people have lower RPM motors compared to others, and you can hear the difference. You can sometimes hear the difference between the types of transmission that people are using. So the cars have a very high-tech sound, very high revving in some cases, like I said, definitely not silent. But the difference is it's really nice as a family to be able to come to that race, be able to talk. It's easier to hear our drivers on the radio. That definitely helps. But yeah, overall, as I said, opened more doors than those it's closed, I would say.
Okay, fabulous. I want to ask a little bit about safety. There was a question posed here from Richard about the accident that we all know recently happened. And can you just talk about the evolution of safety, the safety culture that exists within Formula E, and how it's evolving? Like, what are you learning every day? If you can speak to that, that'd be fabulous.
Yeah, I think firstly, a huge sense of gratitude and to the FIA, who really are at the forefront of pushing safety, and President Todd, who heads up the FIA, the introduction of the Halo device in Formula One, Formula E, and other categories. I think without a doubt showed that it saved the life of Romain Grosjean recently. And we have that same Halo system in Formula E, and the whole survival cell with a carbon fiber cockpit, which kind of protects the driver. We had a very big accident with one of our drivers a few years ago in Mexico City, Nelson Piquet Jr. Got out that car completely unscathed. And it's quite incredible, the advancements of safety in racing, and particularly at the World Championship level. The drivers nowadays have a lot of data which is fed back to the FIA, so biometric data in their gloves and in their racewear, which enables the FIA to monitor vital signs of the drivers. In the case of an incident, we have G meters on the car, so the car indicates with a light when it's been subject to a G loading, which could cause damage to the driver. It's literally fantastic, the development of safety technology, and that does have a trickle-down effect to consumers as well. So I think really hats off to the FIA in that. Formula E very much kind of follows with Formula One in the same introduction of this technology, and it continues, to remain critical. It's a sport we know and love. We can never stop on the journey about safety. We can always learn from it as well. And at the heart of it, it does mean we can continue racing, but also importantly doing it in the safest possible way. And I think a lot's been said about drivers becoming braver with the technology and the safety features now. But I think it's moments like we saw recently in Formula One that make the current crop of drivers also really appreciate there are still dangers, but importantly that that journey never stops to continue to find improvements, and that's absolutely something we fully support.
Yeah, no, that's great. It's wonderful to know that everything that you guys are doing on the track and with these vehicles, from the technology in the engine, from the safety, again, is trickling down to consumers, to Jaguar production cars. It's great to learn that you're taking those learnings and using them to help provide us with better vehicles and safer vehicles and more efficient vehicles. It's amazing. So I haven't seen any other questions come through recently, but I guess I want to throw this one last question to you around fans, and wanted to ask you a bit about fan following and what is, I would say, if you had the opportunity, that's actually a two-part question. So if I had the opportunity to go to just one track, one race, what race would you say I go to? And then what race has the most amazing fan response, environment, so on and so forth. It could be the same answer, could be the same, but if you could share that, it'd be amazing just to hear about, if we all got an opportunity to, take a trip, where should we go, and what city has the best fans?
Yeah, so I think we're really fortunate. We have some incredible circuits and cities we race in. I think to get the real Formula E experience, a city like Paris would be absolutely high on the list, because again, it's just this incredibly unique environment of a World Championship motor race taking place in literally the heart of a city. We have the track on one side. On the other side of the barrier is a Parisian cafe where people are having their morning coffee in the middle of a morning practice session. It is literally, we're used to it now, but the first few times you experience it, it is quite phenomenal, and it is incredible. So I would very much recommend the likes of Paris or Rome for that European culture. New York, obviously, for you guys, is incredibly close, and I would really recommend, again, a fantastic area we race in Brooklyn that's evolving every year we go. It's that area of the city is becoming more and more vibrant, and again, a great atmosphere. We're seeing fantastic kind of crowd numbers attending that event, so that's definitely on a very high on our list, with obviously that iconic backdrop. But probably actually, so those three I recommend. I'll throw one more in though. The fans in Mexico City are absolutely phenomenal. We had a sellout event there last season. We won that race in Mitch Evans, our most dominant victory in Formula E. But honestly, standing on the podium, as far as your eye can see, deep with fans, and just because again, you talked about the noise. Actually, here's a great example in Mexico with the stadium section, the baseball stadium section where the cars race through. Every time there's an overtake, you hear the fans, and normally in motor racing, the engine noise drowns out the fans, but you hear it like you're a football game or a baseball game, and that is an incredible experience. I would definitely kind of promote you to try, and not too far for you guys in the US.
Not at all. Not at all. So Lindsay, do you want to take it from here?
Sure. Yeah. Well, I want to thank everybody for taking the time to join us today. As I said earlier, this was a very exciting event for us to be able to offer. It's not every day that I think we all get to sit down with James and ask him questions one-on-one. So thank you all for taking the time to be a part of this. James, thank you for taking the time out of your day to be a part of this. I know it's actually probably after work hours for you right now. So really appreciate you setting this on your schedule and making it a priority. And we want to thank everyone at Jaguar Racing for helping us put this together. We wish you all the best of luck in season 7. We're excited for it to kick off next month and see what starts to happen as the season progresses. But we wish you all the best of luck. We'll be cheering you on from the sidelines. And I just want to also thank everyone at Jaguar Land Rover North America for their support in Driving Young America over the years, and including this virtual series this year. And of course, I can't let the event come to a conclusion without thanking Tracy and everybody over at Castrol for being a big supporter and big sponsor of the virtual series that we've put together this year. We would not have been able to do it without you all and without our partners at Michelin. So just a big thank you for everyone. It's a little bit bittersweet. This is our final event of this series this year. And while I'm very excited for 2021 and getting back to what we normally do and putting on our live events, I am sad to say goodbye to these virtual events that we've become accustomed to. I hope we'll continue some of this into the future perhaps. But again, big thank you. And everyone, please mark your calendars for our event next fall. We are definitely planning on a fall 2021 event, both in Savannah, Georgia, and on Hilton Head Island, South Carolina. We have our racing event, the Savannah Speed Classic, with our partner SVRA, October 21st through the 24th next year. And our events on Hilton Head, including the Concours, November 5th through the 7th on Hilton Head Island, South Carolina. So we hope we'll see you down south next fall. And in the meantime, happiest of holidays to everyone. And again, thank you everybody for your support this year. It's been truly amazing, and we thank you all. And happy rest of your 2020 and Happy New Year to everybody. Thank you for joining.